All right, let's talk about good turbulence. It's funny. I was just having a conversation with my wife before I came in here to get started. That there is such thing as good turbulence. Good turbulence often affects positive change. Um, Being forced to, let's say, you lose your job because a lot of people, especially during COVID time, lost their job. And that seems to be a negative thing. Obviously, no one likes to lose their job. No one likes to lose their income. No one likes to lose their security. I That is perfectly understandable. But there are a number of people, because of that turbulence that was caused in their life, were able to go back to school. They were able to learn a new trade because they had to, not because they wanted to necessarily, but they had to. It may have given them the opportunity to release themselves from something that they didn't like, that they were just there because of the security of it, and they really wanted to improve the quality of their work life or their home life, and then they were able to. It was a turbulent thing, and turbulence isn't easy. Turbulence, if you've been in an airplane that experiences turbulence, especially your first time in an airplane that experiences turbulence, it can be kind of scary. But now I think about, pilots, commercial pilots who experience turbulence, they're not nearly as nervous because, first of all, they know it's coming. Their instruments let them know it's coming, and they know what to expect, and they know how to react, which is something that we have to learn how to do. We have to recognize it, expect it, and then know how to react while it's going on. So there is good turbulence in the sense that, it actually forced people to react differently to their series of circumstances. Um, because maybe they lost their job or their business closed, or it got down to where they just couldn't support themselves on the hours they were be given, whatever the case might have been. So there is so those things that seem negative will cause positive turbulence, and that's the kind of things that we should be looking at and looking for. If you've got comments and questions, please just put them down in the comment, in the comment area below. I'll put what I hope to. I love to promise you this, but I can't. To put this together in an ebook and have it on eBay within the next year, hopefully, because I think it's important as we go through life to be able to to navigate the things that happen. And right now there's a lot of. Have you noticed there's a lot of turbulence? There are a lot of things going on. There are a lot of things being shaken. Things that you thought you could depend on, you can't. People you thought you could trust, you can't. And not just on a macro level, but sometimes on a micro level, like in your home. Things you thought you could depend on that you simply had put confidence in that you can't, and that causes turbulence. It does. Everything does. Everything that happens causes turbulence. Every time you get up out of a chair, you disturb the air around you, causing turbulence. Every single time. Every time you make a decision, you cause turbulence. Every time you decide not to make a decision, you cause turbulence. So let's get into some examples. The birth of a child, it's a glorious, wonderful, fantastic thing, isn't it? Oh no, it is. It is. But even under the best circumstances, is going to cause turbulence. I often tell my friends, if you have a baby and your life doesn't change, you're doing it wrong. That's how you know you're doing it wrong. So, because so many guys are like, I don't know about being a dad. Oh, it seems hard. I don't. If it doesn't change your life, if it doesn't cause turbulence in your life, you're doing it wrong. If you're able to cruise through like ain't nothing happened, you're doing it wrong. Because the addition of a new life that you are completely and totally responsible for should cause turbulence. Is it the good turbulence? It needs to be. It's the kind of turbulence that makes us a better person. Can it be negative turbulence? Sure. Because some people who aren't built for it, it destroys them. It makes them do things that they wouldn't normally do. But it should be that kind of turbulence that turns you into a better person. Now, if you're a family and you guys already know, if you already have children and then you have a new baby, that causes a turbulence in your family. The pecking order changes, and for a while it has to, and that will have an effect on your minor children. It may even have an effect on your adult children. Have to be aware of that. So often we have blended families because we live in that sort of society where we have blended families. And the couple sometimes has rose-colored glasses on about the effect that union of families is going to have on their minor children. They have this idea that they love each other and their children will learn to love each other. Well, most of the times, yes. But it doesn't mean that there won't be turbulence. And being aware of that is incredibly important. That the turbulence that'll be caused with their minor children is important to notice, know that it's going to happen, notice it, and be able to ameliorate it as it's happening. Because again, as parents, you want to be able to smooth out as much of that turbulence for them as you can. You won't be able to do it all because some of that turbulence will be internal for them and they will have to work on their own. But it's important that you know what's going on. And just because you can't see it, because most turbulence you can't see. Oh, I didn't tell you that. Most of the time you can't see it. Most of the time it's not people running around the house breaking things. Most of the time it's people not saying anything. Except for, I'm okay, I'm fine. No, I'm good. Good. They're not. So that's just another example. If you've got more examples that you want to talk about, put them in the comment section. I think it's really super important that we understand that even things that look like they're going to be good will cause possibly negative turbulence. What you and I do will cause turbulence. Way back 30 years ago, I was working a job in the school system, and we had just gotten married, so we were working out that bit of turbulence when you're dating and then you marry somebody and you're just trying to work that out, and we were just starting to get that settled. It was still times. Then we had a baby. More turbulence, right? Whoa, turbulence. And then I, with my dumb ass, get a job out of our area in another city that neither of us had ever been to. We didn't know anybody. We had one day to look for an apartment. Found one, praise the Lord. And so I took a brand new wife and a brand new baby to another city to live. Left jobs that we were comfortable with, left environments that we were comfortable with, and off we went. There was turbulence, and I caused it. Seemed like a good idea, right? I made a little bit more money. I loved the job. My wife had left the job that she had loved, so there was turbulence there. We left the daycare for the baby that we loved, so there was turbulence there. So it affected our kid, Heck, it affected our cat. It affected the cat. The cat was for weeks. New place, new smells, new everything. It affected the cat for weeks. And that was the turbulence that I caused. Seemed like a good idea, right? And how I learned it was me was that 6 months later, I got a promotion back to the city that we had just left 6 months previous. I tried to deaden some of the turbulence, though. When I found out that I'd gotten the job, I looked for my wife's old boss at her old job, and basically, at 9 o'clock at night, called him up and had a conversation. Looked through the phone book. Y'all remember phone books? Looked through the phone book, found about that many of the person's name I was looking for, and I called. I think I only had to call 2 or 3 before I found the correct one. Had the conversation, and it seemed like things were going to be okay. So I got on the phone that night, and I called my wife and told her about the promotion, and she was really happy. Because the whole idea was that where I was before, there was really no chance for advancement. Although I liked the job, but now now in 6 months I'm getting advanced, so that's a good thing, right? It's a positive thing. So initially she was happy about the promotion, and then I said, "Oh yeah, it's back where we came from." Silence. She just found a new job that she liked. We had just found a daycare that we were comfortable with, and that the baby was comfortable with. The cat had just stopped shedding. Just stopped shedding. Here we go with the moving van again, right? At least back to an area that we were familiar with. At least back to a daycare that we were familiar with and liked. Fortunately, they were still open. They just closed recently, probably they sold that place about 2-3 years ago, I guess. They had been there for, I don't know, 50 years. The cat was going to shed again. The cat was just going to shed again. That was, oh, poor cat. How that poor baby had any fur on her body after all this, I don't have any idea. But we were able to expect a certain amount of turbulence. Understand? We knew what turbulence that we were going to expect. We knew what was going to be ahead of us, and we knew how to handle it. So as turbulent as that year was, we were able to handle it because we knew what to expect and we knew what to do, right? And so now, because we are the old married couple here on Real Talk with Deb and Will, we are able to handle those kind of things. You have deaths in families that will cause turbulence, unfortunately, because when there is a vacuum of that person being there, when you suck something out of something, there's a turbulent reaction, right? And that turbulence will affect people in both ways that I mentioned. Some people will grow and step up, and that turbulence sometimes, if people aren't built for it, will destroy them. It's catastrophic. So what we're hoping to do here in this video is to talk about turbulence in a way that you can understand, that people can understand it, and we can talk about it. And it isn't just you listening to me, it's you talking to your spouse, you talking to your significant other, you talking to your family about it, because it happens everywhere. In the workplace, let's talk about the workplace for a second. Whenever there's a change in management, no matter where it is, it causes turbulence, doesn't it? Your supervisor gets promoted. There's a vacuum. Everybody's got their place, and this person goes, and what normally happens is a vacuum, and then nobody knows what to do until somebody is put there, and when somebody else is put there, now there's more turbulence, right? Nobody knows their position. Nobody knows the pecking order. Nobody knows anything. We've all, if you've worked long enough, you've experienced it, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to work for a long time. Now, you don't have to work in corporate America. It could be anywhere. If you work at McDonald's and you get a new store manager, things change. When I was working retail, I never worked for a new manager who thought the old manager was worth anything. Even if the old manager got promoted, I've never worked for a new manager who thought that the old manager knew, their butt from Shinola, because they want to go in and they want to put their old stamp on it. And when I worked for the school system, the same way with principals. The old principal was just wrong, and things needed to change. And that creates a lot of turbulence, in a school or business. Some of it can be avoided. As an aside, real quick, if you are blessed enough to have to take on a new position somewhere, and especially if you're now working with a group of people that you've not worked with before, it's my thought is that you should take your time. Just sort of, because that settles the turbulence for a while. See who your good players are. See who your players who need more help. And that way find out the players that you might have to cut for a while. Don't go in making changes right away. Same thing with families, right? Blended families. Don't go in trying to make huge changes right away. Give everybody time to get used to the new situation as much as they can. Slow and steady calms down turbulence. You don't get as much turbulence. If you wave your hand like this, you get lots of turbulence. If you move your hand slowly across your face, much less turbulence. It takes longer for your hand to get from where it started to here, but there's less possibility of damage. So sometimes we have to know that. We have to know that in our work lives. We have to know that in our personal lives. You just got married. You're not going to be your parents in an afternoon just because you got married. You're not. And you might have known each other for years. You might have lived together. You might have cohabitated. But it's going to be but learning to be married is going to be a process. And you have to give each other space and time to grow into it. Otherwise, the amount of turbulence may be the thing that shakes it apart. Which is why a lot of marriages end so quickly, unfortunately. Because of the amount of turbulence that is caused by unrealistic expectation, and the idea that you should be something now that might take 5, 10, 15 years to actually be, because we're not persistent and we're not patient, and you cause all this turbulence that your spouse or yourself you're not built for, and it crushes you and it becomes catastrophic. So notice that we are all responsible for causing turbulence, and we are all responsible on how we handle it. I hope that this is going to be an ongoing discussion. So if you've got questions or comments, please put them down in the comment section. I'm going to create this is what I'm going to do. I promise this will be happening by the time you see this video. It's going to be an email address for this conversation expressly. I hope it's going to be like turbulence@gmail.com or turbulencediscussion@gmail.com or something like that. So that way you can email this conversation directly. I hope this has been something that you want to talk about. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Remember, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.